What's the single most dangerous moment on your path to growth? It's not the moment of failure. It's not the moment of doubt. The most dangerous moment is the one right after a breakthrough. The instant a profound truth clicks into place. When the world suddenly looks different, your first human instinct will be to talk. To find someone, anyone, and explain the incredible thing you've just seen. You'll feel an almost desperate need to share it. But this is a test, and it's the one most people fail. What if I told you that this urge to speak isn't a sign of wisdom, but a leak of power? Imagine that every true insight you gain is like being handed a cup of pure, life-altering energy. The moment you open your mouth to explain it to someone who isn't ready, you're not sharing it, you're spilling it. You're trading a universe of potential transformation for a few seconds of validation. And once it's spilled, it's gone. You can't get it back. The ancient masters understood this. They didn't see wisdom as a trophy to be displayed. They saw it as a fire to be tended. A new truth is not a finished product, it is a raw element. It must be brought into the silent forge of your own soul. It needs the heat of your focus, the pressure of your discipline, and the solitary work of hammering it into your own character. When you speak of it too soon, you are yanking the glowing metal out of the fire. It cools instantly, loses its malleability, and can never become the sharp, unbreakable tool it was meant to be. This is a secret about energy that is rarely spoken. Keep your breakthroughs to yourself, at least for a while. The truth is, speaking about your transformation before you've lived it is a trick of the ego. We want applause for the journey, not for reaching the destination. We want others to see us as wise, as enlightened, as special. But genuine power is never built on the opinions of others. It's forged in the quiet, lonely moments of choice. When you choose discipline over distraction, when you choose silence over reaction, when you choose to embody the truth instead of just talking about it. The journey of awakening comes with an unavoidable sense of isolation. You'll start seeing the games people play, the illusions they chase, the noise they mistake for life. You'll outgrow conversations, friendships, and places that once felt like home. This loneliness creates an ache that tempts you to justify your new path, to prove to others that you're not crazy, that what you see is real. But this is the critical moment. Silence is your shield. In silence, you're not trying to convince anyone. You are simply becoming the evidence. The strength of your change is not measured by how well you can articulate it. It's measured by how deeply it changes you. Don't speak because others don't deserve it. Stay silent because your transformation is too sacred to be put at risk. A day will come when you see how words are cheap, how we give away our most potent energy, trying to explain what we should be busy becoming. You will realize that not everyone has earned a front row seat to your inner world. Not because they are bad people, but because their path is not your path. If you try to describe the view from your mountaintop to someone still wandering in the valley, they will not be inspired. They will be confused or even resentful. They haven't felt the burn in their lungs or the strain in their legs. It is not your job to use your words to carry them up the mountain. Your job is to evolve, and evolution is a quiet, internal process. It's the invisible work you do when no one is watching. These are the moments that build an unshakable foundation. Not the moments you perform, but the moments you practice. So, the next time a lightning bolt of clarity strikes you, when an insight feels so powerful, it's burning a hole in your tongue, just pause. Ask yourself, is this meant for public consumption? Or is it fuel for my own fire? The answer almost always is that it's for you first. You owe it to yourself to let that truth integrate, to let it change how you walk, how you listen, how you live. Because when it's truly part of you, when your new wisdom has become your new nature, you will no longer need to say a word. Your presence will be the sermon. Your calmness, your clarity, your energy, that will be the message. That is how you stop leaking power. That is how you become a force of nature. You stop reporting on your own becoming. You simply become. The secret is knowing this. When you find it, guard it with your silence. There's a quiet physics to this universe that most people never learn. The law is this: when you verbalize a profound realization prematurely, you neutralize its power. It's not because the truth is weak, but because your connection to it is still new and fragile. When you first touch a higher truth, it feels like a shock of electricity. It rearranges your mind. The puzzle pieces of your past, the pain, the struggle, suddenly form a coherent picture. In that flash of understanding, the desire to broadcast it is almost uncontrollable. But this is the lesson of the masters. Some things are not meant for immediate broadcast. Truth is like a newly lit candle. If you run outside with it too quickly, the slightest wind will extinguish the flame. The first spark of insight is not the destination. It's the beginning of a much deeper, quieter practice. Speaking about it too early is like trying to fill a bucket that has a hole in it. The energy just drains away. Your words are not just sounds. They are vessels of energy and instruments of creation. When you speak about truths you have not yet fully embodied, you are acting irresponsibly. It's like an architect describing a magnificent building they have only imagined, but never built. The blueprint is incomplete. The foundations are untested. And anyone who tries to move into that imaginary building will find themselves with no shelter. The discipline of keeping silent after a revelation is not self-deprivation, it is an act of incubation. It protects you, giving your mind, body, and spirit the time they need to align with this new, higher frequency. It protects the insight itself, allowing it to grow from a fleeting idea into a permanent part of your character. Because until your daily actions are a mirror of your breakthrough, it's not yet your truth. It's just a beautiful thought. And thoughts are easily broken by the world's skepticism. When you offer a deep insight to someone who is not seeking it, it may feel like an act of generosity, but it is actually a dangerous gamble with your own growth. You are placing something holy into hands that cannot feel its weight. They will question it, trivialize it, or reject it. And if your own roots in this new truth are not yet deep, their disbelief can make you doubt yourself. It can poison that moment of pure clarity and turn it into confusion. This is the ego disguised as a savior. I must share this to help others, it insists. But the truly wise do not rush to lecture. They allow their own lives to become the lesson. A fruit tree doesn't shout, "Look at my apples." It grows silently, powerfully, and draws those who are hungry to its shade. In the same way, your transformation will become undeniable over time through your composure, your grace under pressure, your kindness without any need for reward. This presence will be your testimony, and it will be far more convincing than any argument. It's crucial to understand that some people are invested in the status quo. They are comfortable in their limitations. If you announce your growth in front of them, they will instinctively try to pull you back down, not always from malice, but from fear. Your light reminds them of their own darkness. Your freedom exposes their own cage, so they will challenge your new perspective, not because you are wrong, but because they are terrified that you might be right. And if your foundation is not yet solid rock, their pushing will make you stumble. This is why silence must be your first strategy. Not a permanent vow, but a temporary, sacred space for your truth to solidify into strength. Speak only when your words no longer seek applause. Share only when your peace can no longer be stolen by another's doubt. At that point, you are no longer trying to prove anything. You are simply being. There's one more layer. When you withhold your insights from a need to speak, you force them to work on you internally. They start to reshape you from the inside out. You'll find yourself making different choices, walking away from drama, listening more deeply. These are the quiet markers of real change. They don't make a sound, but they are impossible to ignore. The people around you will sense the change. They may not have the words for it, but they'll feel a new gravity in your presence, a new peace. That is the unmistakable energy of a person who has found something real and held it long enough to become it. So, the next time you have a revelation, resist the reflex to explain. Let your stillness be its cradle. Let your silence be its guardian. Let your actions be its voice. And in time, when the seedling has become a mighty tree, you will find you don't have to say a thing. People will come to you, not for your opinions, but for your presence. And when you finally do speak, they will hang on every word, not because you are loud, but because your silence has already earned their respect. That is real power. That is knowing when to say nothing. There is a painful, yet liberating, truth that you must accept on this path. Not everyone is ready for your evolution. Not everyone has the capacity to understand what you've fought to learn. And not everyone has the courage to look where you now see. When wisdom dawns on you, it feels like a gift. But the great mistake is to assume others will receive it as one. They will not. Especially if they are comfortable in the very reality you've just escaped from. The nature of truth is to be disruptive. It shatters comforting lies. It illuminates dusty corners that people would rather keep dark. It demands growth, and growth is painful. So, when you bring your truth to those who are not ready for it, it will feel less like a gift and more like an attack. Imagine you've been living in a deep cave with others for years. Your eyes have fully adjusted to the darkness. Then, one day, you find a path out into the sun. The light is blinding at first, but then your eyes adjust, and you see a world of color and beauty you never knew existed. Overjoyed, you run back into the cave to tell everyone. You think you're saving them, but to them, you are not a savior, you are a menace. Your description of the sun sounds like madness, and the light spilling from the entrance of the cave hurts their eyes. Your truth doesn't liberate them, it agitates them. In life, the right message at the wrong time is just noise. This is why wisdom requires immense patience. When you grasp something profound, your first duty is not to go out and preach. Your first duty is to live it. Let your life be the irrefutable proof of your discovery, because if a person is not already asking the questions, your answers will fall on deaf ears, or worse, sound like judgment. This is hardest when it's the people you love who are still in the cave. You desperately want to drag them into the light. You want them to feel the freedom you feel. But you cannot walk another person's path for them. Transformation must be chosen, not assigned. A dragonfly cannot explain flight to a grub, it can only demonstrate it. Trying to share your deepest insights with the wrong audience is like trying to plant a forest on a sheet of glass. It doesn't matter how fertile your seeds are, they cannot take root without soil. And if you keep trying, you will only exhaust your own spirit and end up feeling profoundly alone and misunderstood. The pain you feel in that moment is not because your truth is false. It's because you offered it where there was no space for it to be received. There is also a subtle pride in thinking it is your mission to awaken others. It is not. That is a private journey between a soul and its own experience. No matter how eloquently you speak, your words cannot penetrate a closed heart. You may want to grab people by the shoulders and tell them that a better way of being exists. But until they are ready to seek it themselves, your words will either be ignored or twisted to be used against you. This is why silence is wisdom's greatest ally. When you choose to be silent, you are not disrespecting the truth, you are honoring it. You are saying, this is sacred, this is not casual gossip. This is a key to a new reality, and I will not hand it to someone who is determined to stay in a locked room. Let your own peace be the invitation. Let the calm in your eyes create a question in theirs. Let your stability disturb their chaos, not with words, but with your very being. People are not moved by arguments, they are moved by energy. If you have truly integrated a powerful truth, it will change everything about you, your posture, your priorities, your presence. Others will notice. They may not understand it, But when their own life becomes painful enough, when they are finally ready for a different way, they will remember your peace and they will come to you and ask. And when they ask with a genuinely open heart, then and only then is it time to share. This is how real change spreads, not by force, but by resonance. You live your truth so completely and so quietly that it begins to radiate. It becomes a gravitational pull. Those who are ready to rise will feel it and seek you out, not to argue, but to learn. Until that day, protect your treasure. Hold it in the quiet temple of your heart. Let it grow within you long before you speak of it. The world may not be ready for you, but you must be ready for yourself. Because if you try to convince the world before your own foundation is solid, you risk being pulled right back into the cave. And that is the silent tragedy of sharing your light too soon. Your truth is real, but if it is still young, the wrong environment will kill it. Hold it close. Let your silence be its armor. And remember, when they are ready, your very presence will be all the explanation they need. There is a vast difference between force and power. Force is what you use to push, to control, to make things happen. Power is what you have when you know you don't have to. This is the great misunderstanding of our time. People think power is loud, that it's demonstrated by winning arguments, by being the center of attention. But true power, the kind that quietly shapes reality, is different. It is still. It is self-contained. It doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't need to perform. It simply is. When you meet someone who has walked through their own hell and come out the other side not bitter, but wise, you'll notice this quality. They are not in a hurry. They listen more than they speak. Their presence has a certain weight, a gravity, not because they demand respect, but because they've earned it through their own inner work. This quality is called restraint, and restraint is the ultimate sign of someone who has immense power but has chosen to master it. We live in a world that screams for attention. Social media, our jobs, even our private conversations have become a stage where everyone is auditioning for approval. Everyone is talking, but almost no one is listening. Everyone is sharing, but so little of it has any depth. It is a tidal wave of noise. And in the middle of this storm, the ones who possess real power are the quiet ones. The ones who know that some truths are too valuable for casual conversation, that wisdom is not a medal to be shown off, but a compass to be followed. Restraint does not mean weakness. It is not passivity. It is the disciplined ability to resist the animal urge to react, to correct, to prove, to fight. It means you can sit with discomfort and not be moved. It means you can let someone else be wrong and not feel the need to jump in and fix it just to satisfy your own ego. That's not being a coward. That's having clarity. The moment you feel you have to prove your worth, you have handed the power to judge you to someone else. And that, by definition, is powerlessness. There is a profound discipline in holding your truth close to your chest, in not needing external validation for it to be real. Some things are meant to be lived, not just discussed. When you have a truly life-altering realization, your first instinct is a performance. But wisdom is a practice. It must be digested, embodied, and made real through your quiet, daily choices. Think of a master chef. The greatest chefs don't just talk about recipes. They have an intuitive feel for ingredients, for heat, for timing. Why? Because they've spent thousands of hours in the kitchen, in practice. Their mastery is silent. It's in their hands. It's in their senses. It's the result of discipline, of countless small failures and hard-won successes. They have learned that true skill is not what you can explain, it's what you can execute. The same is true for inner wisdom. The more you truly know, the less you need to say. The deeper your understanding, the less you engage in pointless debates. You stop needing to win. You stop seeking applause. You let people underestimate you or misunderstand you because you know that your truth is not dependent on their belief. That is real power, silent, anchored, unbreakable. But restraint doesn't just protect your power, it amplifies it. every time you hold back an impulsive word, every time you choose presence over performance, you are conditioning your inner self. You become more focused, more potent. Instead of broadcasting your energy out to the world for approval, you channel it inward to build yourself. And with every act of restraint, your awareness sharpens. You start to see clearly who is worth your energy and who is not, what is truth and what is illusion. This clarity becomes your guide. It directs your actions, not your fleeting emotions. You are no longer reacting to the world. You are responding from a place of deep inner knowing. That is the heart of transformation, when your life is no longer a series of reactions, but a deliberate creation. In the great philosophical traditions, restraint was the highest virtue. It signified that you had reached a point where your inner peace was non-negotiable. You no longer allowed external chaos to dictate your internal state. And the most incredible thing happens when you reach this state. People feel it. They may not understand it. They might even be intimidated by it. But they feel it. And they will begin to treat you differently. Not because you shouted for respect, but because your quiet power made them curious. They will wonder what you know that they don't. And when they are finally ready to ask, you'll know. You won't have to prove anything. You'll simply speak, and your words will land with incredible force, because you waited, because you honored the truth enough to protect it, and because you didn't waste your power on a performance before it was time. That is the art of walking with quiet power. That is knowing the secret and keeping your mouth shut. There comes a point in every true journey where the most effective thing you can do is be silent, not because you are empty, but because you are so full that words would only diminish the truth. You come to realize that silence is its own language, a language of power. When used with intention, it communicates more profoundly than any argument, any explanation, or any defense. Silence is not a void. It is the very container of mastery. In the beginning of our growth, we are like overflowing cups. We feel an urgent need to pour ourselves out, to share every insight and feeling. But experience teaches us a hard lesson. Not everyone is thirsty for what we have to offer. Not everyone is capable of tasting the depth. And critically, not every environment is worthy of our sacred water. That is when silence graduates from a passive state to an active choice. A choice made from wisdom, not fear. In silence, you finally meet yourself. You are forced to confront your own motives. Are you speaking to get approval? To be right? To make your ego feel important? Or are you willing to remain quiet, to protect your energy, to allow someone else their own journey without needing to interfere? Silence is a mirror that shows you your true face, without the makeup of words and justifications. When you strip away the noise, all that remains is what is real, and facing that reality without distraction is where the deepest growth occurs. There is an ancient power in stillness. The world scrambles, shouts, posts, and performs, but you learn not to. You learn to watch, to listen, to perceive. You start hearing what is not being said. You see the masks people wear, the true intentions behind their words. Your perception becomes razor sharp. This is not a magical gift. It is a skill, and it is forged in silence. Consider the apex predator in nature. Its power is not in its roar, but in its silent, patient observation. It remains perfectly still, conserving its energy, waiting for the precise moment to act. Its strike is effective not because it is loud, but because it is perfectly timed. This is the same principle you must apply to your life. When you master the art of silence, you no longer waste your words. You speak only when you have something of true value to contribute. Your silence becomes a conscious act of power, a declaration of your inner stability. In your relationships, quiet presence is often more healing than a flood of advice. People don't always need you to fix their problems. They need a safe space to hear their own soul. When you stop filling the air with your solutions, you gift them the space to find their own. That kind of silence is the highest form of respect. And when it comes to your own pain, Silence is a sanctuary. You do not need to broadcast your struggles for them to be valid. You do not need to narrate your healing for it to be real. The most profound mending happens in the quiet moments, when you sit with your own heart without judgment or an audience, and simply allow things to be. That is where the broken pieces find their way back together, not because you forced them, but because you gave them the quiet space to do so. Silence also shields your future. The more you talk about your grand plans and ambitious goals, the more you expose them to the toxic winds of envy, doubt, and criticism from others. There is immense power in moving quietly. Build your empire without an announcement. Let your success be the only statement you make. When you keep your vision sacred, it gathers strength. It is no longer fed by the empty calories of applause, but by the deep nutrition of purpose. Finally, silence is the ultimate teacher of patience. The world will constantly try to provoke a reaction from you. People will test your boundaries. Life will present challenges that scream for an immediate response. But in silence, you learn to wait. You learn to observe. You learn to respond from a place of centered strength, not raw emotion. This doesn't mean you become a doormat. It means your words, when you finally choose to use them, have immense weight. They land with impact because they have been forged in the crucible of silence. This is the secret hiding in plain sight. We think power is loud. We think wisdom needs a megaphone. We think truth must be shouted. But those who have truly arrived know better. They know that silence isn't empty space. It is full. It is pregnant with your strength, your depth, your power. It is your boundary, your meditation, and your most powerful statement. So once you know something, truly know it in your bones. Resist the urge to put it on display. Let it live inside you. Let it guide you. Let it rebuild you. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs more people with the courage to be silent until their words can change the world. Until then, let silence be your guide. The path to true knowing is not built with words. It is carved out of silence, it is hardened by restraint, and it is often walked alone. Once you understand this, once you have felt the immense, creative power that silence holds, the need to prove yourself to the world simply dissolves. The chase for validation, which once consumed you, ends. The battles you used to fight, which your soul has now outgrown, cease to matter. You simply are. And this state of being is cultivated in quiet, unseen moments. It's built in the early mornings when the world is asleep and you are alone with your thoughts. It's built in the late nights when you review your day, not with judgment, but with a desire to refine your own compass. It's built in your stillness, your patience, and in your choice to respond where you once would have reacted. It's built from the words you chose not to speak, the arguments you chose to walk away from, the pain you chose to process internally rather than perform externally. There is an authority that emanates from a person who no longer needs to be loud. It is a quiet, unshakable power. It is rooted like an ancient tree. It is not swayed by praise or criticism. It is not dependent on being seen or understood by anyone. It just is, like a mountain that is not disturbed by the passing storm, like a flame that does not bend in the wind. The one who holds a profound truth in silence is not being selfish. They are protecting the sacred. Because that is what real truth is earned. It is earned through direct experience, through failure, through difficult choices, and through quiet, relentless perseverance. And the deeper the truth, the less you want to speak of it casually. Not out of secrecy, but out of reverence. You understand its weight. You know it is not a party trick. It is a tool for total transformation. And before it can change anyone else, it must first be allowed to complete its work on you. So you carry it inside. You let it dissolve your anger. You let it sharpen your clarity. You let it silence your ego. And you let it guide you with the certainty of a North Star, even in the most disorienting storm. You stop looking outside for permission because you've learned to hear the wisdom in your own silence. And in that silence, you find peace. Not the cheap peace that comes from having no problems, but the profound peace that comes from knowing you are bigger than your problems. The kind of peace that remains steady even when people misunderstand you, doubt you, or attack you. You no longer waste energy fighting to be right, because your energy is now sacred. Your time is sacred. Your inner state is no longer open for public debate. You do not give it away. This is the point where your reality begins to shift, not because the world has changed, but because you have. And your change, while quiet, is absolute. You carry yourself differently. You speak differently. Your decisions come from a place of deep knowing, not shallow need. You invest your energy with precision, and you guard your silence with ferocity. You do not allow the world's noise to enter your heart. You have become still. And in that stillness, you have become invincible. People will feel this in you long before they can name it. They may not know why they feel calm in your presence, why your few words carry so much weight, or why your stillness feels like a refuge. It's because you have done the work that most people avoid. You have gone inward. You have sat in the silent fire long enough to understand that not everything needs to be verbalized. Not every insight needs an audience. Some treasures are meant only for you. So when the world tries to pull you back into its drama, when it tempts you with applause or arguments, remember your purpose. You are not here to be loud. You are here to be true. You are here to be anchored. And sometimes, the truest thing you can do is say nothing at all. Let your life be the evidence of what you know. Let your actions be the sermon. Let your silence speak more powerfully than your voice ever could. That is how you command respect without demanding it. That is how you create change without force. That is how you protect your power and continue your growth uninterrupted. Because once you have found the secret, once you have tasted the kind of clarity that cannot be bought or broken, you will understand why it must be guarded, not from the world, but for yourself, so it can keep guiding you, so it can keep shaping you, so it can continue its quiet, magnificent work within you. In a world drowning in talk, choose the discipline of listening. In a world addicted to noise, choose the courage of stillness. And in a world desperate to be seen, choose the quiet power of becoming someone they feel, even when you say nothing.